Alright guys, what is going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you my reactions to Chelsea's 3-3 draw away at West Brom. And I mean, where do I even start with this one, guys? It's really not a result that any of us expected. Really a tale of two halves during the game, but as you see what happened in the first half, that was always going to be the case. Not a great performance from us. It picked up towards the end, but I'm going to be getting into all the key moments of the game, as well as giving my player ratings for the squad, and as always hitting you guys up with my player of the year points tally at the end of the video. So if you guys do enjoy these reviews, please be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this on Chelsea FC, as well as other footballing content as well. But without further ado, let's get into the game. Okay, so the team was as follows. Like I predicted, it was a 4-2-3-1. Caballero was in goal for this game. It was a back four of Reece James, Christensen, Thiago Silva and Alonso, which was a little bit surprising for me. I did want to see Azpilicueta in that left-back spot. I did think that Chilwell wasn't going to start, but Alonso did fill me with a bit of dread, and rightly so. Thiago Silva and Christensen, there was no news on why Kurt Zuma was not in the team. Hopefully he's not injured, but it does beg the question, if he wasn't injured, why was he not starting? Reece James was always going to start at right back. Also a bit of a question as to why Tomori wasn't starting over Christensen. You know, Christensen really making that big error getting sent off against Liverpool. Tomori performing well in the Cup and when he came on against Liverpool, so I don't see why Tomori wasn't getting the nod there. The double pivot of Kante and Kovacic was what we all expected. The front three of Mason Mount, Kai Havertz and Timo Werner was again what we all expected. Timo Werner being on that left wing with Tammy Abraham up front, who did have a great performance against Barnsley, so it was definitely necessary for him to start this match. There were some sub appearances as well from Azpilicueta, Hudson-Odoi and Giroud, but we will get onto those a little bit later. But yeah, the first half just wasn't really great at all, guys. Very lacklustre from us, mainly because we actually went 3-0 down quite early on in the match. Alonso making an error, heading the ball to the West Brom player, who does go through over to Callum Robinson, who does glide the ball past Willy Caballero. A few things to mention here. Alonso really key at fault during this movement, and just a really lazy header to the West Brom player, just was not great from him. Reece James, I think, did do his job. He did push Callum Robinson out wide, and the angle in which Robinson shot from wasn't a great one. But I think the ball going through Reece James's legs maybe did obscure the vision of Caballero a bit. However, I do also think that Caballero should have been doing a bit better, and it really just shows how we're calling out for someone like Mendy, who's just a bit taller, as I believe Caballero's fingertips were like a centimetre away from the ball. You really would be expecting your goalkeeper to make a save like that. However, it was still a good finish from Robinson, placed in the corner. So, you know, West Brom did show some decent finishing during their goals, so I guess fair play to them. The second goal, unfortunately, was just a woeful mistake by Thiago Silva, just caught napping on the ball. Just the ball gets out from under him. He goes for the tackle, misses. Callum Robinson is through. Just another ball right through Caballero. Again, it was a good finish. Caballero maybe, you know, the ball was quite close to him, so you'd maybe hope he'd do a bit better. But again, that was 2-0, and it was not looking good from there. And the third goal did come from a set piece. It was a corner whipped out to the West Brom defender, who heads it nicely onto the feet of another player, who puts it into the bottom corner of the net. Now, when I actually saw this goal, I thought it was Reece James's fault, as he was playing the West Brom defender. I believe it was one of their defenders on side for them to stick the ball in the net. However, when you look at the replay, it was actually Alonso who was on that man, and Alonso just moves away from his man and just leaves him free to slot the ball home. So another pretty calamitous error from Marcos Alonso, and it was apparent that Lampard knew about this error, as he did substitute Alonso and Kovacic both off at half-time. One other thing to note, we did have one decent chance where Timo Werner unfortunately hit the crossbar. Maybe should have been doing a little bit better there after finish, trying to get it on target. So yeah, not a great game from him particularly either. But getting into the second half, Azpilicueta and Callum Hudson-Odoi were adopted into the team, which I think we all agreed with. It was interesting seeing Hudson-Odoi come on for Kovacic, so we did see a 4-3-3 at this point of Kante, Havertz and Mount, which is actually, if you guys watched my best Chelsea 11 video, was actually a midfield that I thought might actually be in our future for this team. But yeah, Kante Kovacic just wasn't really working. I don't know if it was the communication that wasn't there, but it just wasn't going well for those two. But it takes about, I think, 15 or so minutes, or maybe 10 minutes, for Mason Mount to shoot from about 40 yards out and just fooling everyone and it ending up in the back of the net to make it 3-1. I think it was a combination of the goalkeeper not being able to see the shot, as it did go through a lot of bodies, but also if you actually watch the shot, it was looking to go outside and miss the goal. However, it did bend really nicely into the bottom left corner, so it was still a great shot from Mason Mount as well. And when that was scored, you did think that maybe, just maybe, Chelsea were going to make a comeback in this game. And it's not long after that that Callum Hudson-Odoi links up really well with Kai Havertz, a little 1-2, and Hudson-Odoi an absolutely immaculate finish into the bottom right corner. Really just a finish that you'd expect of a much more experienced player. Callum Hudson-Odoi slots it home to make it 3-2, making an instant impact when he was substituted on, and the game really changed, and I think it was always going to change, with West Brom obviously sitting deep, wanting to protect their 3-0 lead. But we did just look a lot better with the change of formation and with Callum Hudson-Odoi and Azpilicueta put in the team. Azpilicueta adding a bit more solidity in the defence as well and really ordering players around. Maybe it was a bit too much to expect Thiago Silva to do a good job as captain. But to be fair as well, I do think that the goals we did concede were mainly down to individual errors in the team. But that's sort of the story of how Chelsea defending really has been recently since Lampard did take over. And finally, we're all the way into, I believe, the 94th or 95th minute when Tammy Abraham pokes the ball in, the real poacher's goal. It was a shot from Mason Mount, parried by the keeper, and Tammy Abraham was there running on to slot the ball home. So we did draw 3-3, which if you were told that you were going to draw 3-3 with West Brom before the match, you might be a little bit disappointed. We would want to win this match, but it's always nice, if you're 3-0 down, it's always going to be a decent feeling coming back from that scoreline. So whilst we all wanted a bit more than a point, we will definitely take it under the circumstances. So yeah, a very up and down game. There were some players that did not perform well, some that really picked up during the second half. But yeah, really have to improve on this. We're facing Crystal Palace next in the Premier League, and they've been doing pretty well recently, so we cannot be having many more performances like this. West Brom really should be a team that we're putting away, so a little bit disappointed on the basis of that result. But without further ado, I will be getting into the player ratings for this match. Okay, so if I'm going on to the player ratings, let me just start with the goalkeeper, Willy Caballero. I don't believe he made a single save in this game. He might have made one towards the end. It wasn't great. I'm not saying any of the goals were really necessarily his fault. However, the first and the second goal, maybe you could argue that he should have been saving those, or that a better keeper would have saved those. I do think that the arguments... I see basically a lot of people arguing that Caballero needs to start in front of Kepa, and I'm not arguing that. I do think Caballero is better at the moment than Kepa. He at least adds a bit more leadership and a bit more confidence and control to the back. However, in terms of shot stopping, he's really not that much better at all. I'm going to be giving him a 3 out of 10, which might seem a bit harsh, but he conceded 3 goals, didn't make any saves. Just wasn't a great performance from him. And getting the bad performances out the way, I'm going to go on to next Marcos Alonso. 2 key errors for 2 goals, didn't add anything offensively, got subbed off at half time. I think I am going to be brutally giving him a 2 out of 10. Lampard did not seem very happy with him after the match, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Alonso. I don't think he'll be starting against Tottenham in the Cup, and whether he continues to start in the future, I'm not too sure. Going on to next, Thiago Silva. Now, it pains me to say, but he obviously made a key error leading to the second goal for West Brom. I do think he was solid besides then. It wasn't a bad performance from him, but that just was a very key, unfortunate mistake. And as we did concede 3 goals, he was subbed off later in the second half as well, when we did actually adopt a 3 at the back system. We actually saw Reece James as one of the third centre-backs, which was interesting. But he will be getting a 4 out of 10 from me. Andreas Christensen did stay on the full match, and I actually did notice some decent moments from Christensen, catching up, making some tackles, making a few blocks. It still wasn't great. We conceded 3 goals. It still wasn't necessarily a great performance from him, but I actually did notice some good moments. So I'll give him a bit up from Thiago Silva. I'll give Christensen a 4.5 out of 10. However, I don't really want to be seeing him in the Chelsea team. I don't trust him to perform consistently. I do want to see Kurt Zouma or Tomori taking that place in the future. Hopefully, like I said, Kurt Zouma is not injured. Reece James, probably our best out of our back 4 now. You could make a few arguments for defensive errors in the first goal. It did go through his legs. However, I do think he was right. He did push the player outside onto their weaker foot. And also, for the third goal, he did keep a guy onside, which means that I'm not going to give him the base rating of 6, because I do think it was maybe a bit worse than that. He did, however, add something going forward, put in some very dangerous crosses like he always does, did win some aerials, I think he had the highest pass percentage in the match, if I'm not wrong, as well, which for a right back is pretty decent. So I'm going to be giving him a 5 out of 10. Didn't get a goal and an assist, and we did concede 3 goals, so that's why he is rated a little bit lower than average. Going to the midfield, Mateo Kovacic subbed off at half time, did win a few fouls, did make some decent dribble attempts, but him and Kante just didn't seem to be working in this pivot. Not sure if the communication is an issue. You know, for someone that speaks 5 languages like Kovacic, you would really be expecting him to maybe talk a bit more in the team. But yeah, sort of went unnoticed in this match, didn't really provide that much at all. Him and Kante were sort of cut through at various points in the midfield. So for that, I'm going to give Kovacic a 5 out of 10. That might even be generous. Maybe he deserves something a bit lower, like a 4.5. N'Golo Kante, first half, midfield, like I said, was cut through a bit. However, he did pick up his game in the second half. Actually performed better in that holding role, which some people say that he can't play in, but I thought that when he did play there, we looked a bit better. However, we were obviously attacking a lot more as West Brom were sitting back, so maybe the reason why that was the case. However, I do think he picked up his game, made some good tackles, really tried to make stuff happen, dribbling and driving forwards, so I'm going to give him the base rating of a 6 out of 10. Maybe it could be a 5.5, but I think his second half did save him a little bit. Going up next in the midfield, number 10 role, Kai Havertz. Now, our formation did change throughout the game. Obviously, when Giroud came on, we did actually go to a 3 at the back with like Werner and Havertz as the wing backs. It was all very weird. It basically wasn't even a formation at this point, but you can't say that it didn't work. We did manage to equalise. Havertz, I thought, he's growing into the game, I think. He's growing into the league. He did have an assist for Hudson-Odoi's goal, some nice link up from them. Was trying to win the ball back. I believe made the most tackles out of the Chelsea players. Did show some good moments of quality with Werner as well, so I am going to give him a base rating of 6 out of 10. Nothing immaculate, but you can really see him growing into this league. Going into the forwards, we'll start with Timo Werner. Not a great outing from him. He was deployed on the left-hand side, which obviously you could argue maybe he is better catered to being up front. A big miss hitting the crossbar. It was close, but you would expect him to hit the target. Some other shots that didn't really seem to be going anywhere. Did get dispossessed maybe once or twice as well, so it wasn't a great performance from him. Again, he is growing into the league, but I will be giving him a 5 out of 10, as whilst he did try and make some things happen, and his attacking, varied on points from good to bad, I don't think it was necessarily a very standout performance from him. Going to the right wing, Mason Mount, arguably our best player in the game if you go from the start of the game to the end. He did get a goal. Technically sort of got an assist, the third goal where Tammy Abraham nodded in the equaliser. It was actually Mason Mount who had the initial shot, which got parried by the goalkeeper. So he was trying to make stuff happen. His effort, as always, you can never question it. When Chelsea were, looking down, when they were 3-0 down, he was still there trying to make things happen, and did, and he basically kick-started our comeback. So whilst we didn't win the match, and whilst we were 3-0 down from the first half, which I think can be, attested to every single player on the pitch, I'll be giving Mason Mount a 7.5 out of 10. If we'd won, maybe it would be a bit higher. If we hadn't conceded as many goals, maybe it would be a bit higher. But I can't, completely ignore the result. So I'm giving him a 7.5 out of 10. Tammy Abraham up front will be getting a 6 out of 10, and he basically saved it with his goal, with his equaliser. If he didn't score that equaliser, he would be a lot lower, as I do think he was pretty much non-existent for the entirety of the first half, and in the second half as well. He was maybe a bit more there doing things, but still wasn't great. But he did score the equaliser, so I'll give him a base rating for that. You want your striker to score goals, and that's what he did. So a 6 out of 10 for him. And going onto the bench quickly, Azpilicueta, Callum, Hudson-Odoi and Giroud. I'll be giving Azpilicueta a 7, Hudson-Odoi a 7.5 and Giroud a 6. Now, when Giroud came on, he did add something. You know, he was being a bit of a nuisance for the West Brom defence, but he didn't score, he didn't get an assist, so a base rating of 6 was fine from him. He did alright when he came on. Azpilicueta was getting a 7 because we just looked a lot more solid when he was on the pitch. He was organising the defence a bit more, had to adapt to a 3 at the back as well. Yeah, and like I said, we weren't really having to defend as much anyway, but the game just changed. The game just changed when him and Hudson-Odoi came on, so I think for that he needs a positive score of a 7 out of 10. Hudson-Odoi the 7.5 because he was really trying to make things happen, running on, taking on players. This is the Hudson-Odoi that we want to see, the Hudson-Odoi that we wanted to see against Barnsley as well, and delivering balls into the box, and he did get that second goal, which was crucial as well to our comeback, so he will be getting a 7.5 out of 10. Okay guys, so those are my match ratings for the game against West Brom, varying from very poor to fairly decent to some players. If I'm going to give you guys now my player of the season scoring system, as you guys know, I usually give one player 1 point, one player 2 points and one player 3 points based on who I thought were best performers of the game. We'll tally them all up at the end of the season and we will see who I think is the player of the season as well. If I'm going to give you guys the person with 1 point, I'm going to give it to one of the substitutes, Cesar Azpilicueta. Like I said, he came on, was solid, was trying to attack, was helping out a lot defensively. He really did change the game and really showed some of his leadership, which can sometimes be questioned by Chelsea fans, but he really did show it in this match. He is going to get 1 point. I'm actually not going to give anyone 3 points, again, sort of like the Barnsley game. The result wasn't great. I don't think in the first half anyone was really that special, that stand out, so I'm only going to be giving 2 points, but to 2 players who I think deserve them, and that is going to be Mason Mount and Callum Hudson-Odoi. You could argue that Mount played the whole game, so maybe he deserves a bit higher, but I think the game really changed when Hudson-Odoi came on, but Mount was the one putting in the effort, leading the press, trying to start things to happen. They both got a goal each, so I think 2 points each is completely fair to them. As you guys will be able to see now, all the players that have accumulated points so far in this early part of the season, no one's actually gone ahead and got more than 3 points, so we will see who will be the first to break over that points tally, but it is very early in the season, so I'm sure more players will be added to this list as well as more players gaining more points as the season goes on. But I hope you guys did enjoy this review / recap of West Brom 3, Chelsea 3. I hope you guys do have a nice day. Please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe for more of this content on the BusterBarnes YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.